as well.
Mika, there are two stories that for people who are just stupid enough to like watching dogs chase their tails. Do we have two stories for you? You saw the first. Don Jr. saying, oh, this had nothing to do with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump the night before saying, you have to do this for me.
Yeah.
Basically saying, this is all about me. This is all about Trump. Bevin has to win, or if he doesn't, this will be the biggest loss in the history of American politics.
Bevin campaigned on Trump's name.
And that's all Bevin did. And then another, which we're going to be talking about, our second story, has to do...
Excuse me, in a state that Trump won, correct?
By 30 points.
Wow.
And we're going to...
So you'd think he'd have all
we
the
are
momentum.
going to get to what happened again in the suburbs,
right?
In the Cincinnati suburbs, which again, once again, shows that Donald Trump is toxic. But the second story this morning, more dog chasing tale. As you actually had Lindsey Graham a month ago going, well, I suppose if they showed quid pro quo, well, then that would be really, really serious.
Yeah, we'll deal with it.
And so Sondland yesterday came out in this is a shocking development. Basically turns around. We're going to show you how that moved forward. And now Lindsey Graham, what is he saying? He's not even pretending to be an honest man or a fair dealer. He's going, I'm just not paying attention to it no more. I'm just shutting my brain down. I'm just going to stop.
Nor will Fox News. They won't cover it. So what the heck? If you want to live in your own world, you can.
Couple of primetime.
But it's not reality.
Couple of primetime shows refuse to cover it. I think some of Fox News.
You just stayed away from it.
But anyway, two huge stories. This was, it gets old saying this was the worst day of the Trump presidency. I don't know that this was the worst day of the Trump presidency, but the Sondland testimony, Willie, was absolutely devastating, and losing the reddest of red state, devastating, and watching all of the red bleed out of Virginia. So now it is a completely blue state again after a Trump plea to vote for Republicans there. I mean, this president had 3 huge strikes against him yesterday.
Yeah, he did. We know it's a huge morning because Steve Kornacki's here.
Yeah.
We know there have been big developments across the country in these elections. But yeah, Matt Bevin, we should say first, very unpopular governor, 34% or so approval rating. But the entire impetus of his campaign was that he was like Donald Trump. He attached himself at the hip to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, of course, came in on Monday night and made that speech. Donald Trump last night after the results came in and Matt Bevin lost, said, well, he lost, but he picked up 15 points just in the last few days after I started talking about him. That's not true, of course, but you know that. He was a Trump candidate. He did get routed in the suburbs of Cincinnati and even started to lose at some of these rural counties that Trump swept up when he won Kentucky by 30 points. Donald Trump won by 30 points in 2016. Donald Trump can't run away from this. Republicans cannot run away from the fact that a Donald Trump-backed candidate probably lost. He has not conceded yet, but probably lost the governorship in a state that President Trump won again by 30 points.
He was an unpopular governor, but unpopular governors and senators lose all the time and win all the time. In this case, though, just looking at the specifics here, what has to be especially difficult for Donald Trump this morning is, and for all Republicans, they have to, here's the thing, before Donald Trump went to Kentucky on that last night and had those stupid shirts that said read the transcript printed up, by the way, which, of course, the document he was talking to said up top, this is not a transcript. It's a stupidity. It's really shocking. And we're sitting there going, how do people get away with it? They don't. Here's the thing. They don't get away with it. He doesn't get away with it. He's going to be impeached. His party lost the biggest landslide vote loss in the history of the United States Republic in 2018 for following him blindly. And then Bevin, get this. Oh, he's so unpopular. This had nothing to. Bevin was ahead by 5 percentage points in the polls before Donald Trump came to the state. Before Donald Trump came to the state, Donald Trump caused him 5.5, 6 percentage points by that one rally. Think about it. You're Donald Trump. You're waking up this morning and you know Donald. Donald.
No, yeah.
No, yeah, come here.
Okay.
Get a little closer to.
He likes to say he doesn't watch.
But he's watching. Come here, Donald.
I know. Okay.
Bevin was ahead, son. He was ahead by 5 points before you went to Kentucky. Right? Look at this.
Messed it all up.
Donald, look at that. I know you don't like reading, Donald, but look,
So
Matt Bevin, R, that stands for Republican. He had 52% before you went and did that rally for him. And you got those poor folks wearing that shirt that said, read the transcript, when the piece of paper itself said, this is not a transcript. Donald, this is not working for you. You should just stay home and watch, like, those cage fights. Right? Sit down, drink some Tang, the drink of the astronauts, and maybe have some Sanka coffee, stir it up. And this is what happened after you showed up in Kentucky. Donald, my friend, you lost the state for Republicans.
Lost his race.
They said of Bill Clinton in 1994 that some candidates were thinking about putting anti-aircraft guns up along state borders to keep his plane from coming into town to campaign for him. It was a joke, but it's pretty dark humor now for Republicans. Because Donald, he was ahead by 5 points, and then you went there. And he lost because of you.
I think he gets
God.
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't.
Dang, that's hard.
Republicans
Can you believe that?
will watch
No, but can you believe that?
developments.
It's like
yes,
the reverse Midas touch.
This is Kentucky.
Gold,
we're talking about.
boom.
Yeah, don't do that. All right, so we'll talk more reverse Midas touch in just a moment. As well as that major development in the impeachment push, as Trump donor turned ambassador, Gordon Sondland changes his testimony and says actually the message to Ukraine did involve a quid pro quo.
See, now,
he was involved with it.
Donald, this is a bad development.
That's also bad news.
That's
okay.
bad.
But you could just go to a channel that doesn't cover it most of the time. Here we will.
He likes that OR network, right?
Yes.
Orin or whatever, yeah.
All right, more on the two big results in yesterday's elections with potentially big implications for next year's presidential race. In the governor's race in Kentucky, NBC News projects the state's Democratic Attorney General Andy Beshear is the apparent winner and will unseat Republican Governor Matt Bevin.
No, by the way, little known fact, Willie,
Yeah.
Matt Bevin was ahead by 5 percentage points before Donald Trump went there.
Help me out here. Okay, so Matt Bevin, who aligned himself closely with President Trump and who framed the race as a referendum on Trump and the issue of impeachment. Interesting. The race was close, separated by about 5,000 votes, a difference of less than half a percentage in a state that Trump carried. Yes, we mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again. By 30 points. Bevin was the only Republican running statewide to lose in Kentucky last night. He is currently refusing to concede the race.
So let's talk about this. We'll get to the Virginia legislature.
I got to get to Virginia. It's a good one.
In a second. It is, but
it's
Kentucky,
you can't get over Kentucky.
I'm just absolutely shocked.
Well,
I'm just absolutely shocked.
It happens.
That Donald Trump lost 5 percentage points in one day.
Okay.
So let's talk about it, Steve Kornacki, really quickly. Obviously, it wasn't just that Donald Trump and his candidate performed poorly in the cities and in the suburbs. They didn't run up the totals even in some rural counties that they had, that the Republican gubernatorial candidate run up 4 years ago. But it was mainly those suburbs, Campbell and the suburbs up around Cincinnati, wasn't it, that really changed?
Yeah, they did. I mean, I think, look, when you have a Democrat winning in Kentucky and the margin is 0.4 of 1 point, it sort of ends up being a perfect storm. And basically everything that needed to go right for the Democrats went right for them. I think you're pointing to one of the major things. I think it was the first sign last night that Bevin really was in trouble. Boone, Kenton, Campbell counties. If you look at a map of Kentucky, sort of this northern group of 3 counties that kind of juts out. Cincinnati's on the other side of the Ohio River. These are the Cincinnati suburbs. And yeah, in each one of those counties, relative to what he did 4 years